So the way that I want you to imagine investing is not necessarily thinking about investing as the way that you think about it, right? Like sort of make money quick. You invest in one thing, all of a sudden become rich. That's not what the way that you should be thinking about investing at all. Instead, what it should be is thinking about an insurance against yourself as eventually not being able to work or produce income in some sort of way. And the way that I think about this is how can I do that so I don't have to depend on myself or my employer to ensure that I have revenue coming in? And so what you can do is take money, right? Some percentage of everything that you get in. I say 15%. I think that that is totally fine. It could be 10, nothing less than 10. It could be 20 if you want to. So just some arbitrary amount that is, like a significant amount, but it's not going to be so painful for you that you're essentially, broke all the time. Right. So that's the 15% is going to make you a ton of money. And you take that and you divvy it out in resources around this world that are producing at a rate, if not better than you, and a rate that's equivalent or if not better than you. And what that is taking the best companies in the world, all of the best companies in the world, and investing in those particular best companies that we know of, right? So, what are those best companies in the world? That is the index funds or mutual funds that are really large. They have a lot of different companies in them and that they have been around for a long time, right? There's lots of different companies out there doing this, but the oldest and the longest one is everybody knows about is like Vanguard, for example, with the index funds. Um, and what they're doing, or what you should be thinking about, is how can I remove this risk of myself that I'm not going to be able to do this thing, or eventually it's going to run out my capability of working. So most of us have this arbitrary date, right? 65. It's arbitrary. It's made up, but it could be younger. It could be older. But what you're thinking about is how can I take money away from me today? It's going to be a little bit of pain, it's going to be a little uncomfortable, not a lot, but a little bit, right? So you can still survive if you need to. It doesn't matter, even if you're really, really not doing well, right? Like you're making just getting by, you could still often find that, 15% to invest. So, what is that equivalent to? I know it's super hard to do this. I'm not diminishing it in any sort of way. If you're making $50,000 a year, that's like 75 ish. Um, that's 75,000 or $7,500 a year that you're investing. And I know that is really stinking hard, and almost unattainable. But here's the thing, right? You could start when you first begin and you don't have a lot, right? What you could do is sort of pick a number that's lower than that, but then you work your way up. You continuously work your way up to where you're investing 15% of everything that you actually make. So you'd start off in your first year trying to get to, say, if you're making $50,000 in your first year, you get up to that 5% level, right? Which is $2,000, a little over $2,000. Then you get up to that 10% level the next year, and then finally after that, you get up to the 15% level. And you sort of figure out as you're doing this in behavioral way, yeah, behaviorally how to actually get there. And the goal is to get to a situation, and obviously you want to pay off all of your debts and all that kind of stuff before you start doing anything like that, um, other than your mortgage. But the goal and the reason why you want to do this, and this is all of the Susie Ormans, the Dave Ramsey's, is very similar to what they would sort of say, right? Um, And the reason why you're doing this is to know that someday you're not going to be working, or that you're going to be incapacitated to work, or you just don't want to work, right, at some point. And the goal is to pick wisely in things that will make you money, right? And the goal, I think, where people get wrong is they think I could do a really good job of picking and pick one thing that is going to outperform everything else. And that is a stupid way to actually think, because that suggests that you are smarter than everybody else, right? And we're not. We're not smarter than anybody else. We make mistakes, we do a bunch of silly things. And so the best you can possibly do often is just get what the market actually provides, which is an index fund or a broad-based mutual fund that's been around for a long time. And so the goal is to make sure that you're constantly taking some resources away from you and putting it into something else that can sustain and do well, right? And I choose, and I think everybody should sort of do this, is choose to look at companies that are really good, right? They've been around for a long time, and they're not, maybe they'll disappear, but maybe not, right? And then that's where you sort of pick the broad base, the index funds, which is a selection of all companies in the stock market, or mutual funds that are picking some of the best ones, not all of them. And the reason why sometimes you might want to do those, they're slightly more riskier than doing an index fund. But if you pick wisely and you sort of choose things that are doing well, and that's where you look for things that have been around for a long freaking time, like 75 years, and they've done very well for those 75 years. They've met the market for the most part. They met the index for the most part. You can ask any particular investment manager for that kind of stuff. And the reason is you you want to make sure that you're going to be, something that will sustain itself, right, in the long run. Um, and I think if you have that mindset that this is more of a risk reduction sort of view, rather than I'm going to get rich, I'm going to make as much as you possibly can, like all of that kind of crazy nonsense stuff. If you take that long term view and you view yourself as, just one piece of the puzzle of everything else that's provided in this world, then I think you're a little bit more modest, and you're also at much more stable ground. Um, rather than I'm going to be the person that's going to pick Walmart or Tesla or, any of these kind of silly companies these days. And just know that I'm just going to pick something that's good. And the way that you do that, that's good, that's moderate, that is good enough, is buying the index. And this is not, this advice is the best available from virtually all of the finance people that are out there, professors and stuff that study this stuff. It's always the same thing, just index funds, maybe mutual funds if you want to do like diversify, but in general, that's it. And you do that sort of steady pattern day in, day out, year in, year out, and then you set yourself up for a position in 10 years, 20 years where you're doing okay. And I think if you maintain that 10, 20 years, good things start to happen. And I know that that is a hard thing to do. I'm not diminishing the difficulties that you face by doing this, but I just want you to know that it's possible. And I think it's a good start to start doing this every day. All right, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.